Hello, I'm Kevin, and this is...
I am Dom.
Thanks, I am Dom. Yeah, we are Tame Impala, and you are on Music Feeds.
Lonerism is almost upon us. How is the level of anticipation being compared to the release of In a Speaker?
It got finished a long time ago, so it's kind of just like another stage in it. It's definitely a big moment when it comes out, so I guess there's anticipation. But we generally... we have our kind of thoughts about the album and how much we love it and that kind of stuff, and that's kind of all we tend to think about.
The success of In a Speaker opened up a lifestyle where you guys can pretty much just focus on music. In that regard, is there not so much an external pressure of expectation, but an internal pressure of preservation to make Lonerism as successful as possible to continue living your current lifestyle of music?
I don't think too much, because before we were a signed band, we kind of did similar things, but we just had shitty jobs in between time. We didn't really have much more ambition for anything else. I guess, the only difference now is that we don't have jobs, although some of us do. Tom has a job sometimes. He works at our favourite bar.
I think it's a pretty slippery slope to go down if you're making music purely for the benefit of, keeping up the lifestyle of being in a band. Like, you try and separate that from the actual process of making an album, I would like to think.
If you're actually thinking about making money or making any kind of gain when you're making music, it's pretty obvious in the music. It just shines through that these people are trying to be successful or whatever.
In the past, you've said you limited your musical prospects to try and remain alternative, whereas on Lonerism you opened yourself up to pop sensibilities. Just how liberating was the creative process for Lonerism? Yeah,
it was extremely liberating. Just sort of suddenly going, actually I don't care about, not to be wanky, but genre boundaries or, demographic barriers or whatever. It's one of those things that when you think about for long enough, the difference between commercial pop and indie music, since we've been in this kind of world where you're always on one side, the more you think about it, the more you realize that it's a total illusion. There's a difference because everyone is making music really for the same reason. They're doing it for themselves and for the audience and to as a thing they do in their life, whether it's commercial pop or really inaccessible experimental music. It's all really kind of the same thing.
How far would you push the musical limit and still call something Tame Impala? Would an electro pop album with no fuzzed out guitar?
That's the line you got to draw somewhere, and I have no idea. I guess in that regard, I just have to rely on the opinions of my friends and stuff, people I trust.
I think, to an extent, given Kevin's approach to creating music, it's very unique, I would say. And even if he thought it was music from another planet, it'd still sound like Tame Impala to most people.
Now, Kevin, you've said songs often initially come from a 6 to 12 hour burst, and then you take a year or two of analysing them. How hard is it for you to finally walk away and say a song's finished?
When someone says time's up,
yeah.
When it's time for the album to come out, or someone external says all right, now you have to finish it in the next 2 weeks. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll finish it in the next 2 weeks. That's the thing. That's the crucifying thing about making music on your own, is that there's no one else to say when it's finished or when it's not. So you can just go completely crazy, literally cuckoo, trying to work out whether a song is too empty or too full, or whether it needs this or whether it's too out of time or it's too in time. You can just go around in circles, and it just requires someone to actually just pull the plug on you at the end. And
is that usually a bandmate or a producer?
Yeah, well, the process really, the record label, or whenever we want to put the album out, when it becomes time to put the album out, because it's been a year or 2 years since the last one. And I'm usually just asking our manager to give me a kick up the bum, because otherwise I'll just keep going forever.
Considering the satisfaction that you get though from the inception of a song, does that make it more of a grind to then have to go on the road and be taken away from the creative process and just play the music?
No, because it just takes on a new life. It just becomes a new kind of thing. That's the thing with Tame Impala. It's there's there's the studio version of the song, and then there's like the live being of it, you know, like, which is good because it can be different or exactly the same or whatever. It's kind of just, it becomes a totally new way of doing it.
Yeah. Oh, you guys just played Parklife this past weekend. How satisfying was it to play the new tracks for an Australian audience?
It was pretty good. We just played, we've been playing one new one that that hasn't been released yet. And it's really cool. It's really weird. Like, you know, because you've got this like, all this people like going, whoa, like, you know, adoring you for like all the songs they know. And then suddenly you play something new and it's kind of just this sudden, like, they sort of stand back for a second and they're like listening, you know. And then all of a sudden you're really playing to please them because, well, not you, well, you know what I mean. Like, I don't know, do you find that? It's kind of like, all of a sudden it's just like, this different atmosphere. But yeah, and then like, people dig it or they don't dig it or whatever, you know.
Absolutely. Can you guys reveal any plans for an Australian tour behind Lonerism?
I don't know if we're allowed to.
I'd say it's a pretty safe guess that we will be touring Australia for the album at some point.
But before the end of the year?
I'm pretty sure I've like seen somewhere on the internet that we're doing it in December. I don't know.
What's the latest news with Tame Impala? Any singles or video clips we need to know coming up?
I think our next single is gonna drop. When's the next single gonna drop?
No
Next month on. But it's called Feels Like We're Gonna Go Backwards, and whenever it ends up coming out.